Hey everyone, thanks so much for joining. Today I want to address the topic of Zoom presence. So this is a term that one of my clients just gave me, which I think is a great way to describe how we create or expand our presence on Zoom. And when I talk about presence, I'm talking about executive presence. I'm talking about how do you communicate with your voice and your body language, specifically over the virtual platform. So how do you exude energy? How do you exude your personality? Maybe you feel like you're really good at doing this, having presence, executive presence in person, but you feel like the Zoom screen somehow takes that away and you flatten or you contract. So I'm going to talk to you about techniques that you can use that will help you to have executive presence over Zoom. This you might think of as best practices. I'm not going to talk to you necessarily about your background, right? This is like going to be a whole different topic that somebody who's more in that design realm can give you some feedback as to exactly how to create your background, exactly how to create mood lighting. But I can give you a couple of tips in that arena as well. We're more focused on what are you doing with your body when you are on this Zoom platform in order to enhance your presence. Okay, so the first thing I want you to think about is your frame of authority, having a frame of authority. So I have found by working with clients, all predominantly remotely, really for the last almost 8 years, that having this frame and giving your audience some context as to where you are and what's going on with your body communicates confidence, authority, and ownership, I will say. There is a difference between showing up like this, the way I'm showing up right now, and showing up like this, or showing up like this, or showing up like this. This communicates that you are in control, that you are accessible and also an authority. And so you're in your power, but you're not sending a whole bunch of distracting messages. So when you assume the frame of authority, you want to think about a few things. One, staying in the center of the screen, keeping your body in the center of the screen, keeping your head on straight, not cocked to one side or the other, so you're in the center of the screen. And then basically configuring your computer so that there's just a little bit of space above your head and a little bit of space around your elbows. So we can kind of see you from the top to the bottom here. This might be the view you'd have of somebody if you were sitting at a boardroom table, a conference room, you would be seeing them from the waist up. So giving somebody context of you and what your whole body is doing can ultimately communicate more confidence, more authority, more prestige, more gravitas, as opposed to somebody who is almost more like there to serve, or somebody who is disengaged, right? So that's one thing to think about. Give yourself that frame of authority. Also, part of that frame of authority is having that green light at eye level. So for many people, that means raising their computer. And when we do that, we bring in this next piece of Zoom presence, which is eye contact. When we do this alignment, we are having authentic eye contact. I'm neither having to cock my head up nor cock my head down in order to make eye contact. I'm giving myself permission to deliver my eye contact straight on, head on. When we do this, we are not sending any distracting messages by having our head oriented in any way that might make it look like we're sending different messages. I don't want to be here, or are you really saying that? Or I'm better than you, whatever those messages might be. Keeping your head on straight, making authentic eye contact, bridge of nose to the green light communicates I'm in my power and I'm also here to listen. Accessible, authority and accessibility, both. One thing that many people do in terms of eye contact because you're on a Zoom screen, is have distracted eyes. So you might have multiple tabs open, you might have your messages open, you might have your phone down here, you might have notes and you're coming back up. You might not know where to look because there's so many different faces if you are giving a virtual presentation, let's say. So my rule of thumb here is 1 point of eye contact and hopefully human. 1 point of eye contact, hopefully human. When we make eye contact with a human face, including ourselves, our own face, we allow ourselves to make these micro expressions in response to the other person's expressions. And so we just come across as more human. We have more expression in our face. We are able to connect more with the person we're speaking to. So that's why we always recommend that you are making eye contact with a human being, because your face will register that. Another piece of your Zoom presence should be your hands. So I know there's varying arguments on both sides as to whether or not to move your hands. I'm going to always advocate that you move your hands. You can do it subtly. You can do it gently. You can do it minimally. But if you completely withhold your hands, there does seem to be some level of repression that is necessary in order to do that. Repression is never good in our body. If we are repressing in one way, that energy will come out in another way, whether it be like a little head twitch or a movement of our feet or some weird gesture every once in a while. It's no good. Find alignment with your gestures. Align your gestures to your thoughts, your content, your emotions, and then all of this kind of synergy between your thoughts, your emotions, and your body language will read to your audience as ease, congruency, trustworthiness, all positive things. So let those hands move. It also helps us to find our words, to structure what we want to say. You'll notice that if you release your hands, it will be easier for you to communicate your thoughts, your message. Try it out. Also, it's more engaging when you're moving your hands on the Zoom screen. So it's often hard for us to actually engage our audience, grab them, get their attention. Moving your hands, as you can see when I'm doing it, it's just way more interesting. It can change your tempo. It can change the tone in your voice, as you might be hearing in my own voice. So this is always going to be helpful when you're really seeking engagement of your audience. Allow those gestures to move your body. You can start to really have fun with your gestures when you allow yourself to fill the entire screen, the entire frame of authority. So let those gestures be big. Let them touch the edges of the screen. Because again, we only have a couple of ways in which to communicate us, our intention, our meaning, our words. One of them is visually what your audience is seeing. So give your audience your content, but align it with the expression that's on your face and in your hands, and you will make a greater impact. This brings me to expression, and my rule of thumb here is amplify everything 20%. So that's not so much that you seem like a clown. It's just enough. It's just a little bit more than what you normally naturally do, so that your energy, your personality reads through the internet over the Zoom screen, right? When we are in front of a Zoom screen, we might feel a little bit nervous. We might feel a little bit hesitant, like we don't quite know how to work with it. That might show up in the retraction or the contraction of our body and of our face. So counteract that by expressing just a little bit more. When we express just a little bit more, it comes out in our facial expressions, it comes out in our eyes, it comes out in the volume of our voice, it comes out in our body language. Just amplifying just a little bit more will read better through this Zoom screen. So we've got our eyes, we've got our body language, we've got our expression, we have our frame of authority. And I think that's pretty much it for Zoom presence. If you have any questions or any areas that you want me to talk about, oh, right, the last two pieces, which I said I would address, but very quickly, are background and lighting. Natural lighting is always the best. So if you can orient towards a window, that's going to be your best bet. And in terms of your background, you want it to be as the least distracting as possible. So again, we think about powerful and neutral in our body language and in our voice. So we don't send a lot of distracting messages. You can hear our words, our content. That's our goal in our communication. And we don't want our background to distract from that, from what we are communicating to you. I do have a picture of a raccoon that's probably distracting to you, but it's helpful in my communication coaching. Why? Because we need to remember to always be curious and playful and sometimes aggressive, just like a raccoon. Hope this was helpful. Please let me know in the comments. If there's anything I didn't address, I'd love to hear from you. If there's any time where you use this Zoom presence, these techniques on Zoom presence, I would love to hear about that as well. So thanks for being here, and I'll see you next time.